أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Verse number 257. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. Allah is the guardian of the faithful. He brings them out of darkness into light. As for the faithless, their patrons are rebels who drive them out of light into darkness. They shall be the inmates of the fire and they shall remain in it forever. This verse is actually an explanation of the previous verse. The previous verse said that لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي. Rushd and ghay, guidance and misguidance, have been clarified. Now, then how it works? How does it work? Those who believe and those who do not believe. Those who choose to believe, because there is لا إكراه في الدين. There's no compulsion in faith. So those who believe, Allah would become their guardians. And those who disbelieve, the taghut, the rebel, whoever is against God, would become their guardians. And it's a process, actually. So whoever wishes to believe can go under the guardianship of Allah. Whoever wishes to disbelieve goes under the guardianship of taghut. هو الذي خلقكم فمنكم كافر ومنكم مؤمن. He created you. Some of you become kafir, some of you become mu'min. However, the consequences, the advantages and disadvantages, the advantages of iman and disadvantages of the kufr are as follows. Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu. Wali means someone who looks after the affairs of someone else, means helper, means supporter. So it may mean mutawalli, umurahum, nasirahum, things like that. Wouldn't leave them on their own, wouldn't leave them alone, would take them from darkness to light. Now, taking them from darkness to light can be an initial process where someone just believes. For example, when the mushrikun believed in the Prophet, peace be on him, they were in utter darkness. Now, as soon as they started to believe, as soon as they confessed faith to the Prophet, then Allah would take them out of that darkness to light. So the people who are not faithful, when they convert to become faithful, then Allah will take them to this process of the journey from darkness to light. However, what about those who are born as mu'minun? Does this verse not refer to them? Is it only for those who come from darkness, who convert to Islam? Or even the believers who are very good in faith throughout their lives are actually going under the verse as well? Well, they do. Why? Because this is a continuous process. This is not something that stops at a place. When someone is a believer, Allah continuously takes them as the faith becomes deeper and deeper. Allah takes them more and more into light. There's an explanation for this I will mention later as well. Now, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ. Those who disbelieve, their awliya, this means those who are looking after their affairs, those who not help them actually, those who work for disadvantage, are taghut. As I mentioned before, taghut is a term used for plural and singular. So it could be devils and the devil, shaitan, or other devils, human devils, jinn devils, or whatever. So they are the ones who rebel against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taghut is from Tughyan, rebellion, who rebel against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they gradually move them from light to darkness. Now, some say that this verse is about those who left Islam or rejected to accept Islam after they had faith, right? For example, Ahlul Kitab. The Jews of Medina, they were in light because Allah had guided them. But because they rejected faith, they rejected the Prophet, they kafaru. They became disbelievers in this sense, and therefore they were taken from that light that they had already into darkness. Or some people say that the problem with this is that how disbelievers can be in light, and then the Taghut would take them out of light into darkness. That's why these explanations have come. Some say that it doesn't mean that they were in light at all. They are always in darkness. But like, for example, when Yusuf alayhi salam says in the prison to his cellmates, إِنِّي تَرَكْتُ مِلَّةَ قَوْمٍ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, I left the faith of those who do not believe in Allah. It doesn't mean that he ever believed in it. It means that I never have had faith in it. Here some say that this means that they have always been in dhulumat. They never have been in light. But this is not correct. Allama Tabatabai rahmatullah alayhi has a very clarifying explanation for this, both light and darkness. How the believers, how the believers can be in darkness and taken into light, يُخْرِجُهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ, and how the disbelievers can be in light and then taken into darkness. How the believers can be in darkness, taken to light, how the disbelievers can be in light, taken to darkness. He says that every human being, as soon as they mature in their intellect, they have intelligence. Of course, Allah has given intelligence to everyone, has given intellect to everyone, and that intellect is a light. That's the light of fitrah. Everyone has that. I mean, as soon as we look around ourselves, our intellect directs us towards God. And that's the light. That's the light that believers and disbelievers have. And then both of them has a darkness. The darkness is that they don't know this understanding that they have, this fitrah that they have. They don't know about the details of faith. How can they deepen their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? For example, if I decide, I become mature and I decide to believe in God, but still I don't know how. I decide to believe in God, I decide to go closer to Him, but I don't know how. I don't know the details of faith. As even the Quran says about the Prophet, مَا كُنْتَ تَدْرِ مَا الْكِتَابِ وَلَا الْإِيمَانِ. You didn't know what was kitab, what was iman. وَلَكِنْ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُورًا نَهْدِي بِهِ مَنْ نَشَاءُ. We have made it a light, so that Allah guides whoever He wishes towards Himself. So there is this darkness of not knowing what the details of faith, how should we worship Allah, what is the best way that we can conduct our lives. This is the darkness. So we have a light, we have a darkness, whether we are mu'min or we are kafir. That by believing, Allah, of course, that initial light is there, Allah will take us out of that darkness of not knowing into the details of faith, into how to worship Him, how to praise Him, how to go closer to Him, how we conduct our lives. So by believing, Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. This nur is that light which is the details of how to worship Allah. For the disbelievers, they had that initial light of fitrah, intellect, and they are in darkness of not knowing what is faith. When they disbelieve, Allah will take them from that light of fitrah. Sorry, not Allah, the Taghut. Take them from that light of fitrah into absolute darkness. They don't know anything. So it makes sense in this way. Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumat, that darkness of not knowing what is faith, They want to believe, they have believed actually, but they don't know the details of it. Allah will take them out of that into details of faith, how to go closer to Him. Nurul Ma'rifah comes to their hearts. For the disbelievers, the Taghut will take them out of that initial light of fitrah into absolute darkness of rejecting God, of not knowing how they should conduct their lives. So this is how it is explained. Allahu waliyul ladhina amanu yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. What dhulumat it is. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ يُخْرِجُونَهُم مِّنَ النُّورِ إِلَى الظُّلُمَاتِ. أُولَٰئِكَ, these, of course, this latter group are أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ. They will be inhabitants of the fire. هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. Khalidun, of course, they will remain there forever. The Quran talks about two sets of people. One are those who remain in hell for a while. لَابِثِينَ فِيهَا أَحْقَابًا. They stay in it for a long, long time. And the other group are those who remain in it forever. هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. Apparently, because as we said, the punishment on the Day of Judgment is not conventional, it's consequential. It's consequences of our actions. So as long as this disbelief, this denial of the favors of Allah, this selfishness stays in a soul, that soul would remain in hell. If that goes out, the soul would come out. Allah tells us that for some people it never goes out, so they will stay there forever. خالدين فيها هم فيها خالدون. Now the next verse gives us, the next couple of verses actually gives us examples of how the Taghut takes people from light to darkness, or how Allah takes people from darkness to light. Three examples are given. One is the example of Ibrahim when he is arguing with Namrud. The other one is the example of Uzair, who passed by a city and everyone was dead, and a question came to his mind. And the third one is the very beautiful example of Ibrahim taken into utter light by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So three examples are given for how Allah is the wali of alladhina amanu and Taghut is the wali of the disbelievers. The first one is about how Taghut takes disbelievers from light into darkness. Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahim fi rabbih. Have you not regarded him who argued with Abraham about his Lord? So this clearly says that this is an example for what I mentioned in the previous verse. Have you not regarded him who argued with Abraham about his Lord? أَنَّ آتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْمُلْكَ. Because Allah had given him kingdom. إِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّيَ الَّذِي يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ. When Abraham said, my Lord is he who gives life and brings death. قَالَ أَنَا أُحْيِي وَأُمِيتُ. He replied, I too give life and bring death. قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْتِي بِالشَّمْسِ مِنَ الْمَشْرِقِ فَأْتِ بِهَا مِنَ الْمَغْرِبِ. Abraham said, indeed Allah brings the sun from the east, now you bring it from the west. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. Thereat the faithless one was dumbfounded. وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And Allah does not guide the wrongdoing lot. So وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ, it means that Allah is not the wali of Zalimin. Zalimin have other awliya, they take them into darkness. So, who was this man? All commentators said that this man was Namrud, the Babylonian king, very powerful king. Of course, Babylon, at the time of Abraham, Babylon was a very flourished civilization and one of the strongest civilizations. And some people say that at that time, Namrud, or whatever his name was actually ruling the most part of the earth. So the Babylon at that time was like the Rome at later time, or like other civilizations which ruled the earth. So a very flourished civilization. Abraham was born in Babel or Babylon, or the area. They say there was a city called Ur. That was the capital of Babylon. And now it's Iraq. It's just between Hilla and Baghdad, the place. So if we want to somehow locate Abraham's nationality, he was an Iraqi. Ibrahim was an Iraqi. So he was born, of course, at that time they did not speak Arabic. You know that Iraq, Syria, these areas started to speak Arabic after Islam. So before that, they were not speaking Arabic. So he was from that area, and the king, of course, Namrud, was the strongest king. They say that, for example, there were 4 people who ruled the whole earth. Of course, this is a sort of exaggeration. And 2 of them were kafir, 2 of them were mu'min. The mu'minun were David and one other, Zulqarnain, and the kuffar were Alexander and Namrud. They say these things, of course, it's exaggeration. So just showing how big that civilization was at the time when Ibrahim was there. And then you would realize how difficult it was to defy this civilization, to talk against Namrud and to talk against their culture and their religion. Ibrahim, of course, since very young age, started to talk against the faith and religion of Babylon. That's when they said, who has broken our idols? قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. We heard a young man was talking bad about these idols, whose name was Ibrahim. He started his arguments first with Azar, his father. Father, of course, he was his uncle, but because usually they called uncle as father as well, especially because he was under his care. So the first encounter of Ibrahim was with Azar. إذ قال لأبيه آزر ما هذه التماثيل إذ قال لأبيه آزر أتتخذ أصناما آلهة. Why you take idols as gods? إني أراك وقومك في ضلال مبين. I see you and the people who follow you, your nation, in utter misguidance. Or in Surah Maryam, for example, واذكر في الكتاب إبراهيم إنه كان صديقا نبيا إذ قال لأبيه يا أبت لما تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا. Why you worship something which doesn't hear, doesn't see? So it started from there. Then of course, Azar was a very prominent person in the court of Namrud, and Ibrahim was known because he was attached to Azar. He went to the public. He started to talk in the public, and people, well, this is Ibrahim, this is Azar's son, this is attached to Namrud. How does he speak like this? Like in Surah Anbiya, we have وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. We gave Ibrahim his guidance, and we, of course, knew how he fared. إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ الَّتِي أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. What are these images that you are worshipping? قَالُوا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا لَهَا عَابِدِينَ. We found our fathers doing this. قال لقد كنتم أنتم وآباؤكم في ضلال مبين. You and your fathers were in utter misguidance. But they did not believe Ibrahim talking like this. Ibrahim coming from house of Azar, like talking like this. قالوا أجئتنا بالحق أم أنت من اللاعبين. Are you joking with us or you are talking real? And then he said that قال بل ربكم رب السماوات والأرض الذي فطرهن. No, I am serious, I'm not joking. Your Lord is the one who created heavens and the earth. Now, after this happened, after a while, then of course we know what happened. He went and broke the idols, and then they brought him to the court of Namrud. Initially, Namrud, the king, wouldn't have actually seen Ibrahim, wouldn't have given a present to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Then after all this happened, they brought him to the court. And because he had a very strong argument, Namrud wanted to argue with him, wanted to defeat him first in argument, then punish him. So he said, what are these things that you are saying? Why did you break our idols? قالوا قالوا ائتوا به على أعين الناس لعلهم يشهدون. Bring him and call people. We want to argue with him, and then we want to punish him. Now, this is apparently before he was thrown in fire. Just before he was thrown in fire, Namrud argued with him. Now, some exegetes say that no, this was after he was thrown in fire and he was not burned. Then Namrud started to speak with him, but that doesn't make sense. Before he was going to be thrown into fire, Namrud called him and wanted to argue with him. So what he said, what Namrud said was this: Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahim fi rabbih, was arguing Ibrahim about his Lord. Now, fi rabbihi, Rabbi what? Rabbi Ibrahim or Rabbi Namrud? That Namrud had a Rabb and he was arguing about his Rabb with Ibrahim, or because Ibrahim said that Bar Rabbukum Rabbus Samawati wal Ard, your Lord, your Rabb is the one who created the heavens and the earth. He was arguing Ibrahim in his idea of Rabb. What's the idea of this Rabb that you talk about? Because since old age, people did not believe in one Rabb, did not believe in Rabbul Alamin. This is what Pharaoh also argued against Musa. Qala Fir'aunu wa ma Rabbul, what is Rabbul Alamin? We don't have such a thing. Every area has its own Rabb. Every quarter of the creation has its own Rabb. So he was arguing against Ibrahim in the idea of the Lord that he was talking about. His Rabbus Samawati wal Ard. Now, then there's another statement here. Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahim fi rabbihi an atahu Allahu al-mulk. He was doing this despite the fact that Allah had given him kingdom, had given him mulk. An atahu. This is actually the gratefulness that he showed. Allah had given him kingdom. Instead of him becoming closer to Allah, instead of thanking him, being grateful, look how ungrateful he was. That Allah had given him mulk, and he was now, that mulk, the rebels, because of that mulk, took him out of light into darkness. The favor Allah made to him, Allah had given him kingdom. What happened was that the rebels, Tawaqit, they used this to take him to darkness. An atahu Allahu al-mulk. Now, there's a question here which is raised by many commentators, and they say, how could Allah has given him kingdom? This is a zalim king. How could Allah give his kingdom to zalimeen, to oppressors? So some say that this an atahu Allahu al-mulk goes back to Ibrahim. That لَقَدْ آتَيْنَا آلَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ الْحِكْمَةَ نُبُوَّةَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَآتَيْنَاهُمْ مُلْكًا عَظِيمًا. We gave mulkun azim to Ibrahim and Al Ibrahim. However, the context doesn't actually accept that. It is the mulk given to Namrud. He became a rebel because Allah had given him kingdom. How would Allah give kingdom to Zalimeen? Is it Allah who gives kingdom? قُلِ اللَّهُمَّ مَالِكَ الْمُلْكِ تُؤْتِي الْمُلْكَ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتَنْزِعُ الْمُلْكَ مِمَّنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُعِزُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ وَتُذِلُّ مَنْ تَشَاءُ. It's Allah who gives kingdom, whether to oppressors or non-oppressors. Allah Ta'ala here has a very beautiful clarification. He says that, yes, of course. Does Allah give intelligence to Zalimin or not? Yes, of course He does. Does Allah give rizq to Zalimin or not? Yes, He does. So what's wrong with say Allah gives kingdom to Zalimin as well? Then He says that everything that we have is from Allah. However, we may use it in wrong way. We use our intelligence in wrong way. We use our intellect in wrong way. We use our wealth in wrong way. He says anything that Allah gives, the good aspect of it is attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Kingdom is something very good Allah gives to some people. Well, by kingdom I mean authority, okay? So authority is something that human society needs. And He gives it to some people. Now, if they use it in wrong way, for oppressing people, for misguiding people, what they do is attached to them. What is good about it, the authority which the society needs, is attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything in this world, the good aspect of it is attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The bad aspect of it is attached to us. ما أصابك من حسنة فمن الله وما أصابك من سيئة فمن نفسك. Any good that comes your way is from Allah. Any bad that comes your way is from your nafs. It means that, for example, Allah has given me wealth, all right? Now, I use this wealth in a very bad way. Can I say, or can someone say, Allah, why did you give him wealth? Well, Allah says, this was my favor. He used it in a bad way. The question should go to him, not coming to us, to me. In the same way, if Allah gives authority to some people and they become zalimin, Allah gave authority to Yazid, for example. Anyone, you cannot say Yazid didn't get the authority from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyone having any favor is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he used it in bad way. So the good aspect of it is attached to Allah. The bad aspect of it is attached to ourselves. Ma asabaka min. This is a very, very beautiful statement, very deep. Ma asabaka min hasanatan famin Allah. Anything good you have is from Allah. Now, the way you use it, how it brings you to calamities or to sins, to oppression, this is from yourself. So, this man, Namrud, was given such a huge authority. And atahu Allahu al-mulk. Allah had given him mulk. The response was that he rejected Allah. He was taken into darkness because of that authority by rebellion. And atahu Allahu al-mulk. إذ قال Ibrahim. Now, he asked, who's your Lord? Just exactly the same conversation which went between Musa and Fir'aun alayhi salam. قال فرعون وما رب العالمين قال فمن ربكما يا موسى. Who's your Lord, Musa? The same thing happened between Ibrahim and Namrud. He asked, who's your Lord? What Rab are you talking about? You broke our arbab, our idols. So what Rab are you talking about? قال ربي الذي يحيي ويميت. My Lord is the one who gives life and takes life. قال أنا أحيي وأميت. He said, I do the same thing. I kill, I give life. How? He just, at random, called someone and killed him. I kill. And a prisoner who was going to be executed, he said, bring him. He said, I set you free, go, you live. قال أنا أحيي وأميت. Now you see how in darkness he was, what Ibrahim was talking about, what he was doing as an example. There's a very beautiful statement here by Jamaluddin Qasimi in his Mahasan al-Ta'wil. He says that كيف أخرجه الطاغوت من نور نسبة الإحياء والإماتة إلى ربه إلى ظلمات نسبتهما إلى نفسه. He attributed giving life and taking life to himself, and this is utter darkness, from the lights that Allah gives life to everything. Allah takes life from everything. He is the one who huwa yuhyi wa yumit. Here Allama Tabatabai mentions a very beautiful, his comments are really in place. He says that Babylon at the time was a very flourished civilization, advanced in technology, in science. We know that many of the modern scientific discoveries about the universe that we have were found at the time of Babylonians. And then it degenerated. For example, they were the ones who thought that the earth goes around the sun. And later on, people actually went back on that and said the sun goes around the earth. So it was a very advanced civilization. He says that look how advanced they were in civilization, but how backward they were in their religious understanding, in their faith. So he says that there's no correlation between them. that the more advanced your civilization, the better your understanding of faith and things like that. These people were very simpleton in their understanding of faith, that Namrud said, I kill and I give life. And by that, people believed him. That yes, he is the one who gives life and who kills. The life and death is in his hand. قال أنا أحيي وأميت. قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأت بها من المغرب. He says, okay, you do that. Now, my Lord brings the sun from the east to the west. You bring it from the west to the east. Now, he couldn't have said that it is me who brings it from east to the west, isn't it? Because then Ibrahim said, now can you bring it from west to the east? He couldn't say that. He would have claimed that sun is under my power as well. But Ibrahim said something that put him in a very difficult position. If he said that sun is not under my authority, the sun is not under my authority, then his rububiyyah would have gone away. If he said sun is under my authority, Ibrahim said, okay, now bring it from the west. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. He was dumbfounded. وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِ الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Allah would not guide the ظالمين. Again, we come to this guidance and misguidance. That Allah doesn't guide a group of people, guides other group of people. وَلْيَهْدِي إِلَيْهِ مَنْ يُنِيبُ. Whoever returns, Allah guides him. Whoever is zalim, Allah would not guide him. These are very clear verses, which shows that the initiation of faith is in our hand. If we want to believe or not believe, it's not Allah who decides who should believe, who should not believe, as the Ash'aris would say. But after we believe, Allah guides us. If we reject, Allah leaves us to tawaqid, to misguide us. So here it's very clear, Allah does not guide the zalimeen, those who are under the authority of the rebels, because the rebels have their authority and they take them from light to darkness. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. This is expressly mentioned in many verses of the Quran. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-fasiqin. The fasiqin will not be guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So initially you have to be zalim, then Allah leaves you. You have to be fasiq, then Allah leaves you. فَلَمَّا زَاغُوا أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُم. When they turned away, Allah turned their hearts away. So initially it's us, is an explanation of Allahu waliyul ladina amanu and walladina kafaru awliyahum at-taghut. So guidance, as I said, there are two types of guidance. One guidance is that Allah sends for everyone, and that's the prophets, the intellect that Allah has given us, the fitrah that has put inside us. This is for everyone. Then if we reject, Allah leaves us, we will be misguided. If we accept, Allah guides us. This is the meaning of Yahdi man yasha wa yudhillu man yasha. Whoever he wishes he guides, whoever he wishes would misguide. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. The other example is a very, of course, beautiful example about the one who came upon a township as it lay fallen on its roof. He said, how will Allah revive this after his death? Inshallah, we'll leave this for next week. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin.
Thank you very much indeed, Shaykh. Very interesting, brothers, sisters. We have got about 15-20 minutes to further this.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Thank you very much indeed for the lecture. Shaykh, we come across this quite often as we look into our history, is that when a civilization develops, it seems to go away from belief and go away from God. We've seen this mentioned in Surah Shams, mentioned here as well. When civilizations develop, they go away from God. We see it in our lifetime now as civilizations develop. They seem to be going further and further away. We're experiencing that now. I suppose the only exception is when, at the advent of Islam, when we saw people using or utilizing faith and belief in God to develop themselves and develop science and the arts to an extent that we saw in the rise of the golden age of the Islamic civilization. But why is this relationship? Because it seems contradictory, paradoxical to what we would expect to happen.
Well, this is explained very nicely in Surah Al-Alaq. It says, كَلَّا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَيَطْغَى أَن رَآهُ اسْتَغْنَى. Man would rebel as soon as they see themselves needless. You know, when we develop civilization, when we develop science and technology, we think that we are in charge. We think that we have something, we are in power, actually. As soon as we feel that, then we start to go into rebellion. Unless, of course, for the faithful. The real faithful people would not do that. But generally, people are like that. When they see that they are not in need, they rebel against God. Why should we need God? For example, our life is in our control. There's nothing that God would do now, things like that. So that's correlation is because people see themselves not in need. Well, it's an illusion, of course. Wherever we reach, we are in need of Allah. But as a sort of illusion, people think like that, and then they rebel.
Thank you. Any sisters? No, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaykum salam.
What would Ibrahim done if Namrud had asked him, let's see your Lord bring the sun from the west to the east?
No, the answer would have been, this is the rule my Lord has set. You cannot change it. And I cannot ask him to change it, you know. But you say that you are the Lord, I can ask you to do that. You may say that, no, this is the rule I have set. He couldn't have said that because the sun was coming from east to west thousands of years before Namrud was born, you know. He couldn't have said that. But Ibrahim could have said, this is the rule my Lord has set. This is what he does. So he's not going to change it by my request. But because you say that, you can do it if you are truthful.
Thank you. Any sisters? Any brother? Yep.
Well, lucky that didn't occur to Namrud to ask, huh?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياءهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات. الحمد لله والشكر على الذي هدانا إلى هذا وما كنا من المهتدين. It is fascinating. It is quite interesting, and the difference is so settled. يخرجهم ويخرجونهم. يخرجهم, two things there in my mind. One, يخرجهم means وحدانية Allah. There's only one person who's going to take them out of from the ظلمات إلى النور. يخرجونهم أهل الطاغوت, أهل الكفار, all of these people to them. So that's number one. Two, it's only God who, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who would do that kind of things. It's not anybody else. It's not the Imam, it's not anybody else. I'm not saying that we do not do that, no. But the emphasis is it's on God and on his own. That's my
Well, as I said, you know, there are two types of guidance. One guidance initially comes for everyone. That's through the prophets, through A'imma. This is their function, okay? Their function is not guide the hearts. Their function is just sort of offer the guidance to people. And they become role models for them. But the one who guides the heart is only Allah. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. You cannot guide anyone who you wish. Allah guides anyone. It's only Allah who guides the hearts, as this verse mentioned. And this is very good. You brought to our attention. So the function of A'imma and prophets is very different from this function of guidance of the hearts. Guidance of the hearts is only from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But offering guidance, showing the path, showing the role model, it is of course on Prophet and A'imma alayhimus salam.
Thank you. Any sisters? No, brother Riyaz.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Interesting discussion, because I noticed there are two verses that bring in the mind and the heart. You see, when you have a ruler, for example, I'm just using this as a metaphor, that when Saddam Hussein was there, yes, people got killed, but nobody was hungry. So in terms of a ruler, maybe Pharaoh or whoever they were good to their people. Maybe they had their people who they were good to. You see, what the difference is that, as you said, they used their brains. Allah gave them barakat, but they used their intellect to get to where they are, whether through their own hierarchy or whatever. You see, now this is the confusion, is that when they use their brain and they get to where they want to get to and they're rulers, are we saying that they're actually, in their mind, their iman is stupid? I mean, their grasp on whoever it is, the greater deity, is it that thick that they can't see what's in front of them? Is it possible? Because in the example here, it's quite clear that it's a conversation between two people, and Namrud has probably had a bad day, and he can't reply to Musa. Because if you use other different examples, you'll come to something similar, that Namrud didn't realize something that was in the back of his head. Right? Now, if you put that in context with somebody like a Hindu person, he sees that the sun is the biggest thing around, it's giving life to everything, so that must be God. So because the prophet didn't come, they started worshipping the sun. Yeah? So we keep that in one place. So you see, that's what I'm trying to say. The intellect told them the sun is the biggest thing around, so we should worship the sun. Because maybe there was no prophet there, so they thought the sun was the biggest thing, and they start worshipping it. In the same way, now you look at Namrud, he thought he was very clever. Right? But he didn't look for somebody else to be bigger than him. That's why he's calling himself Rabb. Right? So if now somebody comes with a different idea in the minority, saying that God is somebody who is much bigger than you, the idea to explain to them that concept is difficult, is it not? Because they don't have it in their head, that there is something bigger than me. I'm the ruler of the land.
Well, the point is, as I mentioned, the verse in Surah Al-Alaq says, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَيَطْغَى أَن رَآهُ اسْتَغْنَى. When someone becomes, for example, powerful, wealthy, can order, can command, and others would obey, then he says, okay, so I am the one who is doing everything. But this is an illusion, isn't it? It's just a sort of stupidity. People thinking like that, not thinking about their origin, how they have come about. You know, there are many different aspects. Yes, when we are in that sort of heat of the situation of commanding, ordering things, yes, we feel a bit inflated. But when we think about our origin, when we think where we have come from, when we think that the world was there and we were not there before, I mean, we have to think about these things, and that's how people would realize the truth. Though, you know, the major thing is that when we reject our Lord, then we can think of anything else. But if we accept Him, then of course we would comply. Yeah.
Thank you. Any sisters? Shaykh, we discussed that the faith is something that we have to accept. Now, being born in a Muslim family, we just go through the process of madrasa and religious studies and all that. We just automatically, at the age of 15 or 9, we are told that now these things are wajib on you. So we automatically continue doing it without actually understanding or accepting. Maybe later on in the life, when we start thinking about it, when we are old enough, then we realize that what we are doing or have been doing, do I want to accept it? Or that is the stage when it becomes acceptance. So whilst all this we are going through the process, yet we are still regarded as Muslims. Why is that?
Well, even if someone just confesses faith, just say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, and doesn't comply with anything, we regard them as Muslim, isn't it?
No, but you see, what I'm saying is we are just going through the process. Even though we may read out the Kalima Shahadat, we don't know what we are reading. We're just going through the process.
Yes.
And it's the process that...
That's why the important thing is when we come to that mature intellectual age, and we think and decide, and this happens for everyone, you know. We cannot say because we are born in a Muslim family, automatically we continue to be Muslim. No, at a certain age we start to think.
So this is the crux to the matter, because this is what I was leading to, that you see, we are never being taught that now you are at some kind of a mature stage, where is the stage where you have to decide. If you accept it, then these things are wajibat on you, or if you, it's up to you.
Told. I mean, everyone
No.
themselves. Why should we be told?
No, because I'm giving my own example. We went through the process of madrasa, religious learning, all that. At the age
you never
of...
thought whether what you are being taught is right or wrong. You never thought about it.
No, we were just going through the process of a madrasa learning.
No, at later stages, you never thought about it.
No, we never thought,
you
because it was just...
It
I think most of them of my own age are maybe of that kind of, they go through the same process.
You know, sometimes, these are blessings, of course. Being born in guidance is a blessing, but that doesn't mean that we would keep that blessing. That doesn't mean that necessarily it's guaranteed for us that we will go into that. And these things happen for Christian people as well. It happens for people of other faith. It happens for Hindus as well. They should think about what they are doing, what they are worshipping, as we Muslims should think about it. And but naturally, what is most common is usually people continue in their faith, and that's why we have this very broad category of mustaz'afin, that people who did not have a way to find out the truth are not going to be taken responsible for their actions.
Thank you. Any other brothers or sisters? Yeah, Zoya.
You mentioned just in passing that Azar is the uncle of Ibrahim. Obviously, the word in Arabic is used as ab, and previously also you've mentioned that ab as opposed to walid. Walid is a biological father, whereas ab is used for somebody who's respected, or uncle, and so on and so forth. When we look at tafsir, so for example, when we look at Tafsir al-Qummi, we find under this particular verse that there's just a tradition from Imam Sadiq that Azar is the father of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Later on, when we look at Tibyan and others, we find that they say, no, he's either the maternal uncle or the maternal grandfather. And what they bring out is that historically Tarikh was the father of Ibrahim, and therefore this could not be, Azar could not be his biological father. When we look at the Bible, we find that in fact Terah, which is equivalent to Tarikh, was in fact the father of Ibrahim, but he was the one who was the idol maker in the kingdom of the king at the time. It seems to be that this has become an issue for us as Shia, because of the hadith that we have, that the line of the Prophet and the Imams cannot be blemished by polytheism and so on and so forth. And this seems to be the root of why we tend to then say that Ab here doesn't refer to the biological father of Ibrahim. Would you agree or disagree?
Well, I haven't seen that narration in Tafsir Qummi, but certainly, as you say, it should be there. But we know that part of Tafsir Qummi is from Abu al-Jarud, which has been added to it later on. So not all its narrations could be regarded as reliable. Of course, whatever comes from Ali ibn Ibrahim Qummi himself is reliable, but what is added to it later on from the ahadith of Abu al-Jarud, from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, are not reliable. And that's why the Tafsir Qummi, which was used by Sheikh Tusi, we see that it's very different from Tafsir Qummi that we use today. Certain things he mentions from Qummi that we don't find it in Tafsir Qummi today. So the version with him was a bit different. Now, It is, of course, a sort of Shi'i concept that all the Aba of Anbiya were monotheists. Not all of them were, of course, ma'sumin, but all of them were monotheists. We can find corroboration of this in the Quran, because the Quran says that وَمَا كَانَ اسْتِغْفَارُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ لَأَبِيهِ إِلَّا عَنْ مَوْعِدَةٍ وَعَدَهَا إِيَّاهُ. Ibrahim did istighfar for his father, the Azar. And it was only because he had promised him. فَلَمَّا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ أَنَّهُ عَدُوٌ لِلَّهِ تَبَرَّأَ مِنْهُ. When he realized that he was an enemy of God, he was not just a misguided person, he was someone who was deep in his disbelief, he disowned him. So he didn't ask istighfar for him anymore. But we have another verse in Surah Ibrahim that Ibrahim, at a very old age, after he was given Ismail and Ishaq, he asked forgiveness for his parents. رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِمَنْ دَخَلَ بَيْتِيَ مُؤْمِنًا. So, when we put these two verses together, it shows that Azar could not have been his father, because just before his death, he asked forgiveness for his parents. رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ. Walid here is used. وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِمَنْ دَخَلَ بَيْتِيَ. But far away, I mean, into his youth, after he realized that Azar was an enemy of God, he disowned him. This shows, this corroborates, I mean, when we put these ahadith, these ayat together, it corroborates the Shia idea that Azar was not his father.
When I talked about Tafsir al-Qummi, I wasn't necessarily implying that this is an authentic tradition. To me, in this ayah, when there's a hadith to say that Azar was the father of the Prophet, it doesn't actually tell us anything. Because to me, all it shows is there is a dispute at the time whether Azar is the father or not. And this hadith is just arguing on the side that he is. So all it's showing is that there's a dispute at that time. Because the hadith is from Imam Sadiq, I don't think it's from Abu Jarud, although I haven't gone and checked again.
Right.
The other thing is that all this is on the basis of when you assume that the ayah, which is walidayya, etc., is at the end of his life, then yes, perhaps you could say that is perhaps some evidence, but
no, because he says, before they said, Alhamdulillah, alladhi wahabani ala al-kibar, Ismaila wa Ishaq. So he says that, and then he says, Rabbi khfali walawaday. So he actually is, this implies very strongly that it was at the end of his life.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any sisters? Yeah.
I just was thinking about the mustaswifin, you know, the ones who, don't they have a light to start with? They have the aql, right?
Yes.
So they're denied the light because they just didn't have access to faith?
No, Allah would not actually take anyone accountable only on the basis of that light, unless He sends guidance as well.
But He does say in the Quran, I sent everyone as a guide. I wouldn't leave anyone without a guide.
Yes, but for example, say if we are talking about Hindus, for example, in old days, Allah sent a prophet, to them. And then other guides came, there were awsiya, but gradually this faith somehow deviated from its origin. Now, people who come later on, like for example in our time, they don't have access to any guide now in their faith. There was an ummah, these were an ummah, Allah sent the guide to them, it was deviated. Or like Christians, we don't believe that Jesus is Son of God, isn't it? But now Christians believe in that. And a guide came to them, it was deviated. Now, those who never occur to them that what we believe in is wrong, like us, it doesn't occur to us that what we believe in is wrong.
Yeah.
And so, because it doesn't occur to them, it means that they are in certainty about their faith.
Mm-hmm.
And Allah cannot actually make them accountable for what they don't know.
Yeah, it's not a question of accountability, it's a question of getting that light to be able to achieve that nearness to God, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Well, also
that nearness only comes, people who worship idols, they cannot get nearness to to the source of creation, isn't it?
So the following on from that question is the mu'min, who's a yu'min billah, who actually believes. Is there anything which cross-references from the Quran that can clarify who the believer is?
Well, there are many verses in the Quran. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ.
Those are kind of action-based.
Yes.
Because we believe that unless you believe in Imam Ali alayhi salam, you're not a mu'min. Sometimes, that's how we are told. So
that's a technical term.
Yes.
That's a technical term that the differentiates between Sunni and Shia. We say, if you believe in the Prophet and God, you are a Muslim.
Yeah.
If you believe in the wilayah of Imam Ali, you are a mu'min in wilayah, not mu'min in Islam. So this is a technical term differentiating.
So even when you say in Salatum Khashi'un, it's just a prayer, they are humble in prayer. So a Christian can say, I am humble in prayer. So how do you kind of...
Yeah, they can be mu'min as well. I mean, they can be believers. They are believers in God, certainly.
So definitely, so they also might have this light.
But the point is whether they are believing in God or believing in something else. That's the question,
Yeah.
And I mean, someone who believes in idols, sometimes they actually were very humble before idols. They were sacrificing many things for idols. They were even sometimes sacrificed their children.
So some of them say that we do believe in one God. Even the Hindus say actually we do believe in one God, but there are so many manifestations of it.
Yeah.
So I just want to come.
Leave how Allah judges people for
No,
their
not
judgment.
judge, but it's not a question of judgment. It's a question of creating that light within you to reach that. It's not about the hereafter. It's about this earth. I was just discussing because we were in a tafsir session and the question came out, who's a mu'min? And it was really difficult to actually pinpoint who the real true mu'min is. So I was just wondering to know whether, Ayatollah Tabatabai or yourself can sort of clarify in that sense.
Mu'min in Islamic term is al-mu'minu billah. Billah, not mu'min in anything else. And Allah, as is described of course, in the Quran, Allah as someone who doesn't have son, Allah as someone who is not born, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ. So these are the descriptions of Allah. So when we talk about mu'min in Islam, we mean someone who believes in this God. However, we have mu'min in other faiths as well. But they are not regarded as mu'min. We regard them as kafir in the sense that they do not believe in this God and this prophet. But that doesn't mean that Allah is going to send them to hell. This is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but then ISIS believe in the kind of God you're talking about, Qul huwallahu ahad. They
Of
do
course.
believe. So
Oh, sorry?
the ISIS.
The ISIS, yeah.
So it's
It's then action-based, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Brother Nizar? Can you take the mic?
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Would I be wrong in saying that we should regard everybody as a mu'min? We have got no right to judge anybody at all.
Then what about these people who are called kuffar in the Quran?
Look,
Who are the kuffar?
so
وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ. Who are these?
Allah knows best.
Yeah.
From my point of view, every man is a nice man. Every human being is a nice human being, as long as he overtly is not doing any harm to others. Yeah. So of course I don't regard ISIS as they are doing harm. Their action is doing significant harm. But in ordinary people on the street, man, woman, and children, any color, any faith, everybody is a good man.
Everyone is created good man or good woman, all right? But certainly what they do, what they believe in, the concepts that they cherish in their minds, in their heart, would of course differentiate between them, isn't it?
Between them and Allah.
Okay, as I said, leave judgment for Allah. Exactly. However, even in our daily life, we have concepts which differentiates between people. You want to actually, when you say I'm a Muslim, you are in a sense distinguishing yourself from a Christian. You are distinguishing yourself from a Hindu. So we use it. We leave judgment to Allah, okay? But we have to use these concepts. We have to use the concept of Iman and Kufr.
But if you regard Muslim in submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I think a Christian and a Hindu is a Muslim as well. They may not call themselves Muslim. From my point of view, they believe in the same God, and they are Muslims.
What those who do not believe in God at all?
No, those are, if they openly tell you, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God at all, leave those aside. But generally,
So they are kuffar.
but people don't walk on the street to say that I'm telling you that there's no God.
Yeah, of course. As I said, we don't judge people, but we have no other choice but to categorize people according to their beliefs, their actions.
Why do we need to categorize people?
Because we want to identify ourselves, isn't it? I mean, I identify myself as a Muslim, and then I should say, okay, what is a Muslim? What is the definition of a Muslim? And then who is out of this faith? So we have to do that.
What difference does it make on everyday life? If I say, I believe in God, and I like everybody else who is God conscious, I would like to be with their friends, I would like to play with them, eat with them, whatever.
That's fine.
Yeah?
That's fine. Allah doesn't forbid that. However, do you believe that Islam has a light that you have to give to other people as well? Quran has a light that you have to give to other people as well. Do you believe in that?
But Islam started at the time of Adam.
No, I mean the Quran. Let's put aside Islam, which is Islam with small I, not with capital I. Right?
Okay.
Put aside that.
Yeah.
Do you believe that in the word of A'imma,
Yeah.
in the word of the Quran, there are things, there's light that other people do not know about, and you want to tell them?
Of course, absolutely right.
So you say that, okay, I have something, I have a book, I have a light
Yes.
that I want to give you. You don't have them. And therefore, there are some
Yeah.
people who have it, some people who
Yeah.
do not have it.
But you don't go and give them, you wait for them to ask for it. You try and be friends with them, you live with them, you eat with them, you play with them, and one day they will ask you, which book do you follow? That's the time you give it to them.
You mean when you play with them and you win, they ask you which book you follow?
Okay, we have a sister here.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for your talk this morning. You mentioned how anything good within us is from Allah and anything bad is from ourselves. And this is something I've heard a lot. And it's one of those things which I think over a lot, because even though in some regards I understand that, in other regards I also feel as though even the bad that exists within this world, Allah has allowed it to be there. He allows those things to exist. So then that makes me think, well, why has He allowed it to exist? Why do we even have the ability to do those bad things if they're bad things? And part of the conclusion that I come to is that through that struggle, we are able to develop our soul, and that struggle is actually a good thing to be able to have that. But then I come to the question of why do we even need to have that struggle to elevate our soul? Like, what was the point of any of that? Why, whilst I understand that, people say, okay, our purpose here is to raise like the status of our soul and to elevate it. In the very first instance, why was that even necessary? Like, why were humans ever created where you have to elevate your soul and get to that extent? Because we kind of get taught this one-dimensional thing where it's like, okay, if you elevate your soul, you go to heaven, and that's sort of the way that people are told. But it never goes much deeper than that, in the sense of, well, why do we need to go to heaven? Why was there ever a point of souls? Like, because Allah existed before any of us. So there, sometimes I haven't made the...
You're asking about the purpose of God in creation. Why did Allah create in the first place?
Yeah, I guess so.
We never can know. That's none of our business, We never can know. We are so tiny in this creation, very tiny. And there are certain questions that we have to realize is beyond us, beyond our intellect. Allah is outside time, Allah is outside space. For Allah, size doesn't matter, for example, time doesn't matter. You look into the universe, the vastness of it, you become amazed. You look into an atom, the smallness of it, you become amazed. And then you realize size apparently has no meaning in realm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is not something that we can comprehend. Or someone who sits beyond time, we cannot comprehend. Someone who created the space, we cannot comprehend. And one of the things that we cannot comprehend is that what is his purpose? Does he ever have a purpose at all? You know, these are things that we cannot comprehend. But he has told us what is our purpose. You know, that is a different thing. What is our purpose? Is our purpose to go to heaven. And what is the way towards it? This is the way. And this life is made in a way that good and evil should mix, so that people, as you mentioned, grow, come out of evil, go into absolute purity, and it's by that that they are allowed to go into paradise. So this world is purposefully. It's purposeful. It's not that why Allah allows it. Allah intends to allow it so that good and evil are mixed. Then, of course, there is one day when they are separated from each other. وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَتَفَرَّقُونَ. Then they will separate on that day. So, this is how it works. But what is the purpose of God? We never know. Even when we go to paradise, we would not know. I mean, don't think that paradise is so close to Allah subhanahu. No, we are never so close to Allah. We're always keep our distance because He's infinity.
Thank you. Very last one from the brother. Yeah, just a quick one.
Shaykhna, just following on what Dr. Nazar has said, in our life as we work, and the judgment is by Allah. Al-amal ibadah. In the eternity, there is no amal, but there's hisab. So I cannot really judge one person on what he does because of that belief. I can only judge him of what he do in terms of work. So what I'm trying to say is the judgment is by Allah. It's not by people. It's not by us. I cannot say you are kafir or he's Muslim or he's mu'min and he's done this. I can only judge by what he does in terms of work, of what he can provide to the society, to human being, to life.
You know, judgment is different from sort of convenience in categorization, okay? We say that there are Christians, there are Muslims. We cannot say that they are all the same, okay, because they believe in different things. This is a convenient categorization. But yes, we never can judge them. Judgment is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who judge them who goes to paradise, who goes to hell. We know that many Muslimun would go to hell. Many people of other faiths go to paradise. So that judgment is on him. But as a matter of convenience in life, we have to have some sort of category classification of people, groups, and in society, you see this classification works is a very instrumental towards order in the society. So we need that, of course.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. So we have overrun our time. Shukran, Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.